before Egypt built its pyramids, before Rome carved its empire, there was a land between two rivers, the cradle of civilization. Tonight, you'll return there, to the banks of the Euphrates, where oil lamps flicker in clay windows, where the first cities breathed beneath a desert moon. You'll walk among scribes, etching the earliest words into soft tablets. You'll hear traders calling through narrow streets, and priests whispering prayers to stars they believed were gods. The air smells of warm earth and crushed reeds. Somewhere, a lyre hums a tune older than history itself. Let the noise of the world fade now. You are drifting back to the dawn of humanity. Welcome to ancient Mesopotamia, between two rivers, where the water runs wide and the sky stretches unbroken. The first stories of civilization were whispered. The land here is soft and fertile, shaped by silt and patience. The rivers move not in haste, but with purpose. The Tigris quick and restless, the Euphrates slow and deliberate. Together they cradled a plain that would one day be called Mesopotamia, the land between rivers, a place where humanity learned to build, to write, and to dream. At dusk, the horizon melts into amber light. The air carries the scent of wet clay and crushed reeds. Along the banks, farmers gather the last of the day's work, their sandals leaving narrow trails through the damp soil. The irrigation channels glisten like thin mirrors, feeding barley fields that sway gently in the evening wind. In the distance, smoke rises from cooking fires, each one a quiet beacon marking a home, a family, a story unfolding beneath the same wide sky. If you follow the curve of the river, you come to small clusters of dwellings, simple walls of mud brick, built with hands that know the weight of earth. These are among the earliest homes of humankind, where survival was no longer a daily chase, but a careful dance with nature. The people here have learned to read the moods of the water. They wait for the floods to retreat, leaving behind black soil richer than gold. They plant in rhythm with the river's heart, trusting its return as they trust the rising sun. The river is more than water. It is memory. It remembers the first seeds pressed into the soil, the first animal tethered at dawn, the first prayer whispered to unseen gods. It carries not only fish and reeds, but stories, drifting downstream like fallen leaves. To live by the river is to live by the pulse of time itself, slow, deliberate, eternal. As night deepens, the wind cools. The hum of insects begins a low, steady chorus that fills the spaces between footsteps and breath. Somewhere, a water buffalo shifts in the shallows, sending ripples across the reflected stars. The surface of the river is dark glass now, broken only by the occasional movement of an oar or the flicker of a torch carried on a small wooden boat. The people of this land know the river as both giver and taker. In spring, it floods with wild energy, sweeping away fields, homes, and hopes alike. But when the waters retreat, they leave behind the gift of renewal. The same gift that has drawn humanity here for thousands of years. This duality is sacred. Every season is a dialogue between destruction and rebirth, chaos and calm. And in that rhythm, the people have built their faith. Across the fields, you can see the outline of a city rising low and sprawling, shaped from the same earth it stands upon. This is no mere village. It hums with life, trade, and song. Smoke curls from kilns where potters work late into the night, their wheels spinning softly. From one corner, The faint tapping of a chisel rings out a mason shaping stone for a new temple foundation. Near the edge of the market, children chase each other through the dust, their laughter thin and fleeting as the wind. The city is alive, but not restless. There is an order to its heartbeat, measured and unheard. The streets wind in patterns that mirror the flow of the river, curving gently as if carved by water itself. Walls are built from baked mud brick, stacked with care and sealed with red mats. Roofs are flat and open, spaces where families gather to eat, to talk, and to watch the stars emerge one by one. The people here speak a language that sounds like the earth, rough, rhythmic, full of breath and tone. Their words carry through the air like birds at dawn. They barter in the market with gestures as much as voices, trading grain for copper, feasts for wool clay pots, for handfuls of dates. At night, when the trading is done and the torches burn low, stories are told. They tell of heroes who wrestled with gods, of cities swallowed by the flood, of love that outlived the stars. Each story begins the same way in the time before kings, when the river spoke. Somewhere near the heart of the city, a temple rises. Its base is wide and heavy, a mountain of human hands. Step by step, it climbs toward the sky, layer upon layer, each level smaller than the last. This is the ziggurat, the bridge between earth and heaven. It is built not for the gods themselves, but for the people who wish to reach them. From heat-stoked priests observe the stars, tracking their patterns across the black expanse. They record what they see on clay tablets, marking time with small, wedge-shaped symbols. The earliest script, the first attempt to capture eternity. Inside the temple, the air is cool and heavy with incense. Oil lamps flicker, casting slow-moving shadows on painted walls. Offerings of grain, milk, and honey rest on stone altars. The priests move quietly, their robes brushing the floor. Their chants rise like breath, soft and steady, blending with the hum of the night beyond. These rituals are old, older than memory, but their purpose endures. To keep balance between the seen and the unseen, the river and the stars, life and the afterlife. Step outside again, and you find the sky transformed. The stars are brighter here than anywhere else, scattered across the heavens like crushed silver. The constellations that will one day guide sailors and kings are already known to these people. They look upward and see not cold lights, but living signs. The bull, the scorpion, the archer, each one carries a story, a warning, a blessing. The sky is their map, their scripture, their promise that the world beyond the river has meaning. The night deepens further. The market is empty now. The fire's low. A single figure walks along the riverbank. A fisherman, his net slung over one shoulder. His feet know the path without sight. He pauses, listening to the gentle splash of water against his boat, the whisper of reeds, the sigh of wind moving across open fields. In that stillness, the line between present and past fades. This could be any night, 5,000 years ago or now, and the river would sound the same. There is a quiet wisdom in the water. It teaches patience. It teaches rhythm. The people who live beside it do not rush. They move with purpose, matching their lives to the slow certainty of the current. They've learned that what endures is not the monument or the crown, but the small acts repeated across generations. Planting, building, mending, praying, loving. Sometimes, the river floods beyond its banks, and a season of hardship follows. Families gather what they can and rebuild. In the silt that remains, they find life again. Children grow. Seeds sprout, the clay hardens into walls once more. The cycle continues, as it always will. This is why they call it the cradle of civilization. Not because it was first, but because it never truly sleeps. Even now, when its cities lie in ruin beneath the desert, the echo of their lives drifts through time. Every fragment of pottery, every carved tablet, every trace of irrigation beneath the sand tells the same truth. Humanity began here, between these rivers, with open hands and hopeful hearts. If you stand on the riverbank and listen closely, you can still hear them, voices from across millennia, the murmur of farmers tending the fields, the chant of priests beneath the temple stairs, the laughter of children playing near the water's edge, the low hum of boats moving through fog. They merge into a single sound, the sound of continuity, of time flowing unbroken. And if you listen long enough, that sound becomes the rhythm of your own breath. Slow, even, eternal. The river gives, and it takes. It carries the weight of memory and washes it clean again. Each wave against the bank is a promise that life endures, that the current moves forward, that every ending is only a return. As dawn begins to color the horizon, the light reveals the shape of the land again. The city stirs. Farmers gather their tools. Potters light their fires. The scribe unrolls a new slab of clay, ready to record another day in careful marks. The world wakes slowly, as it has for thousands of years. You stand at the water's edge and watch the reflection of the rising sun tremble on the surface. The same sun once seen by the first dreamers of Ruach, the first storytellers, the first builders. Its warmth touches your skin, and for a moment you feel the connection, not just to history, but to everything that lives and remembers. The river flows on. The insects quiet as morning grows. The reeds bow and the breeze. Time stretches forward, but its heart remains the same, steady, endless, and kind. Here, between two rivers, humanity found its rhythm, and if you listen carefully, you can still find it soft and eternal. In the sound of the water, the river between cities continues to whisper, and it will never stop. Leaving the river behind, you follow the gentle slope of the plain toward the first walls of the city. The mud brick rises slowly from the earth, warm from the sun, holding the memory of generations who shaped it with steady hands. Each brick is pressed carefully into place, a quiet testament to the lives it shelters. The city stretches before you like a soft, organized web, streets curving, courtyards opening, rooftops flat and wide, ready to catch the light of dawn or the hush of evening. As you step closer, the sounds of the river fade and are replaced by the subtle heartbeat of urban life somewhere near the gates. The faint scrape of sandals on packed earth reaches your ears. A child runs past, carrying a small clay toy, her laughter slipping through narrow alleys and dissipating into the hum of the city. Beyond her, a merchant arranges pottery on a low table, tapping gently to check the shape and sound. You notice the small details, the way shadows collect beneath a wooden lintel, the way smoke curls from ovens, drifting into the air like the slow pulse of life itself. The city is alive, but not rushed. There is a rhythm here, steady and deliberate, dictated not by clocks, but by the sun, the river, and the wind. Doors open and close with care. Families gather on rooftops, tending small gardens of herbs and flowers, their hands brushing over the soil as naturally as a musician runs fingers over strings. The scent of bread baking drifts across the streets, blending with the earth and the distant tanks of spices, warm and comforting. You walk down one of the main streets. The path is wide enough for carts to pass, though now only a few move slowly, loaded with grain, pottery, and bundles of reeds. Along the way, artisans work openly, their tools singing soft, repetitive notes. A potter spins clay on a wheel, palms steady and sure, shaping vessels that will carry water, wine, or oil. A metalsmith hammers faint sparks from copper, listening to the echo of each strike, guiding it with precision. Each motion is quiet but confident, small miracles of creation repeated over centuries. Above you, rooftops are alive in their own way. Women tend to laundry or small fires for cooking. Children chase one another from flat roof to flat roof, careful not to fall. Ocasionally, a lamp is lit, flickering against the clay walls and casting slow-moving shadows. You notice the texture of the mud brick, pressed together by hands over time. Rough in some areas, smoothed in others, where life has touched it again and again. It feels like the city itself remembers, holding memory in every corner and surface. The marketplace opens gradually as you approach. Early vendors begin to call softly, their voices measured and calm. Baskets of dates, figs, barley, and wheat are laid out. Spices, unfamiliar and fragrant, release quiet clouds of scent. Leather goods, woven textiles, and carved wooden items catch the first light and shimmer gently. The hum of conversation is low, respectful, a soft music that fills the alleys without rushing anyone. You notice how even in trade, the city maintains balance, no chaos, only the natural ebb and flow of life. People here move with purpose, but never hurry. Each action is deliberate. A bread seller cuts a loaf. A weaver lifts threads over the loom. A scribe brushes symbols into soft clay. The scribe's movements are careful, almost meditative, and you watch as letters take shape, small wedges that will preserve lists of goods, prayers, and stories long after the hands that carved them have returned to the earth. Even in these small, practical acts, you sense the city's reverence for order and memory. Turning down a quieter alley, you see glimpses of domestic life. A mother bends over a small child, guiding tiny hands as they knead dough for tomorrow's bread. The child giggles softly, eyes bright with curiosity. Nearby, an older man sits on a low bench, tending a small oil lamp, feeding it steadily to maintain its glow. Every house has a story, every courtyard a rhythm of care, repetition, and quiet joy. The city is a collection of such stories, overlapping, blending, forming a single, living organism. Above all, the city reaches skyward in small, careful steps. The ziggurat dominates the skyline, a layered pyramid of clay and devotion. Though distant, it draws the eye, reminding everyone of the divine, the cosmic order. From this vantage point, priests can observe the stars, guiding rituals and interpreting omens. The people of the city move around it with awareness, their lives intertwined with its presence. It is a landmark, a compass, and a quiet statement of human ambition, that we may touch the heavens with careful hands even if only in imagination. The streets are not silent. Faint sounds rise and fall, like waves along the river. The scrape of a broom across the earthen floor, the soft clatter of clay pots being arranged, distant voices harmonizing in simple songs. At night, these sounds are magnified, transformed by the hush that blankets the city. You feel as though you can hear history itself, as if every step you take echoes with the feet of those who walked here thousands of years ago. Alongside you, the river still murmurs faintly, carrying a reminder of the land's first lesson: patience. The city has grown here because people learned to work with the land, to honor its gifts, and to temper ambition with understanding. The streets, the markets, the homes, all emerge naturally from this principle. Life in the city is an ongoing dialogue between humans and earth, between past and present, between aspiration and care. You approach a quiet courtyard, hidden from the main streets. Its walls are covered with creeping vines, small flowers dotting the edges where sunlight touches them during the day. In this courtyard, an old woman tends her herbs, moving deliberately as she checks their leaves for color and texture. Nearby, a young man sits on a stone bench, listening to the gentle trickle of a small water channel. Their world is intimate and contained, a private rhythm within the larger pulse of the city. You feel the softness of their lives, the care they put into small acts, and it mirrors the rhythm of your own breath. Evening approaches fully. Oil lamps are lit along streets and in homes, casting soft amber light. Smoke drifts lazily from ovens, merging with the scent of fresh bread and herbs. You notice how the city transforms as the sun disappears. The clay walls take on warmer tones, shadows lengthen, and a quiet hush falls over the alleys. Traders pack their wares, children return home, and the streets slowly empty, leaving only the gentle murmur of life and the whisper of the river nearby. The city is not static. It lives in cycles of day and night, of seasons, of growth and decay. Every roof, every wall, every street corner holds memory, absorbed by the clay and the earth. You feel that memory pressing gently, offering reassurance. The city remembers its people, and in return, the people honor the city with their care, attention, and continuity. Above the rooftops, stars begin to emerge one by one, careful points of light scattered across the night sky. You pause and look upward, imagining the same constellations that priests and stargazers observed from the ziggurats. They map not only the heavens but the cycles of life, planting and harvesting, birth and death, seasons and floods. They are a reminder of the order that exists beyond the human, and the connection between the cosmos and the clay beneath your feet. The city now rests in quietude. Footsteps are soft, doors close gently, and voices fade into the distance. Even in silence, the city breathes in the faint rustle of leaves, the murmur of water channels, the subtle movement of animals. You notice the pulse of a place alive with history, alive with care, alive with enduring presence. You wander through the alleys one last time, feeling the texture of mud brick beneath your hand. You notice the small courtyards, the gardens on rooftops, the trace of footsteps left in dust and clay. Each element carries the weight of continuity, a reminder that this city has existed for countless generations, shaped by hands both diligent and loving. The city of clay and light, as the people call it, does not need to dazzle. Its beauty lies in order, in rhythm, in patience. You feel the pulse of life here harmonizing with your own. Your breathing slows, your shoulders relax. Every step becomes lighter. Every heartbeat becomes a quiet echo of the city's steady rhythm. Eventually, you return to the edge of the city where the river flows. Its soft murmuring blends with the fading sounds of human life. You pause, watching the reflection of lamps flicker on the dark water, and realize that the city and the river exist in perfect conversation. One flows, one shelters, both endure. And so you, too, can endure, carried by the same rhythm that shaped the first streets, the first homes, the first hearts of Mesopotamia. The city rests. The river flows. The lights blink slowly in quiet windows. Life continues, as it always has, and you, following the pulse of water and clay, drift with it deeper into calm, into history, into rest. The city of clay and light holds you gently now, and here, between river and brick, the past and present meet, and all is steady, enduring, and serene. As the city of clay and light settles into the hush of night, you wander deeper into one of its quieter streets. The lamps have softened their glow, casting amber pools onto the packed earth, illuminating rooftops and narrow alleyways. The market stalls are empty now, the merchants having returned to their homes, and only the faint murmur of the river reaches your ears. It is here, in these calm spaces between walls and walkways, that the city's quiet heart reveals itself. You come upon a small courtyard where a single lamp burns steadily. Beneath it, a scribe sits cross-legged on the earth, his hands moving gently over a slab of soft clay. The stylus in his fingers is thin, precise, and deliberate. Each wedge-shaped mark is pressed carefully into the pliant surface, a language that is new yet destined to endure. This is cuneiform, the first attempt to capture memory, transaction, and story in a form that will survive the years. The scribe works without hurry, his movements calm and meditative. He is neither young nor old, but a practitioner of patience, trained to understand the rhythm of his craft. You notice the gentle repetition of his hand as it rises and falls, marking the clay with symbols that hold meaning, yet flow like poetry in their quiet geometry. Each line records a small truth, a measure of grain delivered, a transaction completed, a prayer offered. These details are mundane, yet through them, the scribe captures the pulse of life itself. Around the courtyard, small details of domestic life continue quietly. A cat curls near the base of a wall, its soft breathing part of the rhythm. A pot of water simmers gently, sending fragrant steam into the night air. Above, a young boy peeks from the rooftop, watching the stars and the movements of the city with a mixture of curiosity and wonder. The scribe's work is part of this environment, harmonizing with the living, breathing world around him. As you observe, you notice how the stylus translates thought into permanence. Each wedge pressed into the clay is a small act of memory, a rebellion against the fleeting nature of existence. The scribe records not only trade and obligation, but also the small gestures that mark humanity. The gift of a loaf of bread, a prayer for rain, the notation of a journey made across desert and river. His work binds people to one another, weaving a tapestry of continuity that stretches across generations. The courtyard is quiet, but not empty. You hear the faint sound of wind moving through nearby reeds, the distant splash of a boat upon the river, the occasional whisper of a door closing. These subtle notes blend with the rhythm of the scribe's hand, creating a tapestry of sound that is both calming and deeply grounding. You feel the pulse of history in every movement, every breath, every mark on the clay. The lamp flickers slightly, and the shadows shift across the courtyard. The scribe pauses for a moment, examining his work. The clay is still soft, still forgiving, and he presses a few additional marks, correcting a line, smoothing an edge. This act of care, repeated countless times across countless tablets, ensures that the essence of life here, the names, the goods, the prayers, the stories will persist. You realize that this simple act of recording is monumental, for it preserves the heartbeat of a civilization. Nearby, another scribe begins his work on a fresh tablet. His posture is careful, his concentration absolute. You watch as he begins with basic symbols, the counts of grain and livestock, the notation of simple exchanges. These records, though small, are revolutionary. They allow people to communicate across time, to hold the memory of trade, law, and daily life beyond the fleeting moment. It is through these careful impressions that civilization itself advances, quietly and methodically. Above the courtyard, the night sky is scattered with stars. They are mirrored faintly in the lamplit streets below, a reminder of the larger cosmos in which these humans live. The scribe occasionally glances upward, noting the positions of constellations, considering the cycles of seasons, the floods, the planting and harvesting. His awareness of the universe around him is both practical and profound. He works not in isolation, but in connection to the land, the river, and the vast sky that stretches beyond the city walls. You notice the texture of the clay tablet beneath his stylus. Each mark is impressed deliberately, pressed with the exact force needed to leave an enduring symbol. The wedge shapes form patterns that are at once practical and beautiful, geometric, yet alive. Watching the scribe, you begin to feel the meditative quality of his work. Time stretches and slows. The details of the city, the river, and the night air all blend into a gentle, continuous rhythm, soothing and steady. The courtyard hums with quiet life. Somewhere, a small oven burns softly, releasing a faint aroma of bread and roasted grains. A cat stretches and yawns, curling back into sleep. The scribe continues his work, each wedge a whisper to the future, a quiet insistence that life, memory, and human endeavor are meaningful. You sense the enormous patience required to master this craft, and with it comes a sense of calm, as though the slow, deliberate rhythm of the stylus has become your own. A faint breeze drifts through the courtyard, stirring the lamp's flame and rustling the edges of a woven mat. The scribe pauses briefly to adjust his seating, then continues, pressing lines of symbols that record the movement of goods, the passage of time, and the names of people who will never see the tablets themselves, but whose existence is now honored and remembered. You realize that these small gestures are abridged from past to present, from human heart to human heart, across millennia. The scribe's attention is total, yet the scene around him remains alive. You see the subtle motion of animals, the gentle sway of hanging reeds, the movement of shadows as the lamp flickers. The city, once bustling, is now hushed and contemplative, mirroring the quiet focus of the scribe at work. Each element is connected: river, city, people, clay, and sky, forming a single, continuous narrative of life, learning, and survival. Occasionally, The scribe dips his stylus in a small pool of water, softening the clay slightly to make a mark more permanent. Each careful adjustment is an act of love, an expression of reverence for the material and the moment. Through such attention, even the mundane trade records, inventories, and letters become sacred, transforming into a meditation on time, memory, and human presence. As the night deepens further, the lamp's glow softens, and the shadows stretch. The air carries a slight chill, and the scribe works with a quiet intensity, pressing wedge after wedge into the clay. You notice the meditative cadence of his motions, the rhythm of hand-meeting tablet, the gentle sigh of air through the lamp flame. It is hypnotic, grounding, and utterly calm. The stars above become brighter, scattered across the sky like countless points of light. The constellations guide the scribe's mind and mark the passage of the seasons. Each symbol impressed into clay is aligned with this cosmic rhythm, capturing the interplay of earth and sky, human action and celestial order. The scribe becomes part of this larger dance, his work echoing through both time and space. In this quiet courtyard, you begin to feel the profound continuity of human life. The scribe's tablet is not merely a record of trade. It is an intimate expression of connection. It links past and future, city and river, humanity and cosmos. Through the patient rhythm of his hand, through the slow, deliberate impressions on soft clay, civilization asserts itself, steady, enduring, and compassionate. The night grows deeper, and your breathing slows naturally, harmonizing with the scribe's movements. You sense the weight of history, not as pressure, but as gentle guidance. Each careful mark in the clay is a whisper, reminding you that even the smallest actions carry meaning, that memory is sacred, and that the pulse of life continues across every generation. Eventually, the scribe leans back, examining the tablet with satisfaction. The marks hold, preserved in soft clay that will dry and endure. The courtyard rests. The city rests. The river flows silently nearby, and you, following the rhythm of this quiet work, feel a gentle surrender, a sense of calm carried through the continuity of human endeavor. Here, among the lamps, the clay, and the constellations above, you understand the profound simplicity of memory, of attention, of deliberate creation. The city sleeps. The scribe sleeps, and in your own way, you to drift into the same quiet, timeless rhythm, carried gently by the river of history, the soft pulse of clay and light, and the enduring whisper of human presence. The scribe's tableau waits, still warm with the memory of careful hands, and the city beyond remains patient and steady. The night continues, uninterrupted, eternal, and you, carried by the current of river, city, and thought, drift softly into rest, leaving the quiet courtyard behind. You follow a narrow street that leads toward the heart of the city. Ahead, the ziggurat rises, a layered pyramid of clay and devotion, massive yet graceful, touching the sky with solemn ambition. Its terraces step gently upward, each level smaller than the last, forming a staircase toward the heavens. Even in the fading light, it commands attention, a silent witness to generations of city life, a center not only of faith, but of rhythm, order, and continuity. The street beneath the ziggurat hums softly. You notice the slow movement of workers finishing the day's tasks, carrying small offerings, or attending to minor repairs along the outer walls. The clay bricks glow warmly, kissed by the last rays of the sun, and the shadows stretch long, softening the contours of the massive structure. The air smells faintly of incense, crushed reeds, and the dry warmth of the earth baked into the bricks. Here, the city's pulse slows, adopting the contemplative heartbeat of the sacred space. Approaching the base of the ziggurat, you see the temple entrance, a modest opening compared to the towering structure above, yet it holds an undeniable presence. Inside, the priests move with deliberate calm. Their robes brush softly against the floor as they carry small clay vessels, pouring offerings of milk, grain, and honey onto stone altars. Their chants rise in gentle waves, quiet enough to soothe rather than overwhelm, creating a soundscape that blends seamlessly with the murmuring of the city outside and the distant flow of the river. Each terrace of the ziggurat holds a story. From below, you can see courtyards where young acolytes practice the careful handling of sacred objects, and narrow stairways where priests ascend and descend, attending to rituals that have endured for centuries. The steps are worn, smoothed by countless feet, and the clay retains the warmth of hands long gone, preserving the echo of devotion and care. You feel the weight of history pressing gently, a comforting presence rather than an intrusion, grounding you in the continuity of human practice. The upper terraces are quieter, bathed in the soft light of stars beginning to emerge in the sky. Here, the air feels cooler, scented with the smoke of incense and the faint temps of river-borne mist. Priests pause to observe the heavens, recording the position of constellations, the movement of planets, and the subtle rhythms of celestial bodies. Their eyes trace patterns that mirror the cycles of life on Earth: planting and harvest, birth and death, flood and drought. In their careful observations, the cosmos and the city below are intertwined, creating a living dialogue between the divine and the human. You move closer, imagining the meticulous work of these observers. They record their observations on clay tablets, etching each detail with wedge-shaped precision. The tablets are small but dense with meaning. Calculations for planting seasons, predictions of rainfall, notations of lunar phases. Each tablet carries the weight of understanding, the careful merging of science, belief, and the quiet desire to align human life with the eternal order above. The temple chambers are hushed. Oil lamps cast pools of light that illuminate carved reliefs on walls, telling stories of gods and mortals, floods and victories, kings and sacrifices. The imagery is detailed yet calm, meant to guide thought rather than excite it. You notice the faces of the figures, serene and composed, reflecting ideals of harmony, balance, and devotion. The priest's chants ripple through the chamber, a steady cadence that mirrors the gentle flow of the river beyond the city walls. Walking along a terrace, you observe the courtyard gardens maintained by small plots of herbs, flowers, and fruit trees thrive in the warm clay soil, nourished by careful irrigation from channels that carry water from the river. The garden is both practical and symbolic, a microcosm of life and order, representing the harmony between human labor and the natural world. You notice how even here, under the shadow of immense power, patience and attentiveness govern every action. As night deepens, the city beyond the ziggurat becomes quieter. The lamps dim, and the streets soften into a gentle hush. The river's whisper grows more prominent, its sound blending with the distant hum of prayers, the soft rustle of reeds, and the occasional flutter of bird wings returning to hidden nests. Ziggurat, massive and eternal, stands sentinel over the sleeping city, a reminder of continuity, faith, and the human desire to reach upward while remaining grounded. You pause at the summit of a terrace, gazing across the city. From this vantage, the flow of life is clear. The streets, the rooftops, the small courtyards, and the river beyond. Everything is interconnected, moving in cycles, both large and small. The light of the stars mirrors the lamps below, bridging earth and sky, human action, and cosmic order. Here, under the shadow of the ziggurat, you feel the vastness of time and the gentle steadiness of civilization's heartbeat. Nearby, a priest inspects a small clay tablet, reviewing the alignment of stars and the timing of rituals. Each observation is deliberate, precise, and imbued with reverence. The soft scratching of the stylus against the clay is a quiet rhythm that resonates through the terrace, blending with the wind, the river, and the distant hum of the city. You notice the calm efficiency of each movement, the patience required to preserve knowledge across generations, and the deep sense of purpose that guides every action. The ziggurat itself is not only a monument, but a container of memory. Every terrace, every stone, every mark carries the weight of devotion, labor, and continuity. The winds that move across its surfaces whisper tales of kings and priests, builders and laborers, scribes and travelers. Even as empires rise and fall, the ziggurat endures, a steadfast witness to human aspiration and faith. Stepping back to the lower terraces, you watch a small ritual unfold. The priest offers a vessel of milk to the gods, its surface catching the flickering light. The chant rises softly, measured, repeating patterns that have guided generations. It is not loud or demanding. It is gentle, rhythmic, and calming. You feel the resonance of these acts, a quiet reminder of humanity's connection to the eternal, the unseen, and the enduring pulse of life. The courtyard gardens and terraces hum with quiet energy. Animals stir in their pens, the reeds sway, and the distant river moves steadily. You notice the harmony of all elements: earth, water, clay, human action, and celestial observation, blending seamlessly into a single, continuous rhythm. Here, the city's soul is revealed, and it is calm, measured, and profoundly enduring. As you descend the terraces toward the city streets, the night deepens further. The stars are brighter now, mirrored in small pools of water in the streets and courtyards below. The lamps burn steadily, flickering only slightly with the evening wind. The priests continue their quiet work. The acolytes tend the gardens, and the city itself breathes softly, resting under the ziggurat's protective shadow. Walking back toward the river, you feel the full sweep of human life intertwined with place and purpose. The ziggurat, monumental yet intimate, embodies the rhythm of continuity. Each tablet etched, each offering given, each seed planted and nurtured, carries meaning. Civilization thrives not in chaos, but in repetition, attention, and care. The city sleeps, the river flows, and the ziggurat stands, a gentle guardian over the night. You pause once more at the edge of the city, hearing the river murmur softly. The wind carries faint scents of herbs, incense, and earth. The stars above reflect the quiet order of life below, and the pulse of civilization, deliberate, steady, and enduring, echoes in your own breath. You feel the rhythm of the past aligning with your own, gentle and calming, a seamless continuity across time. The city under the ziggurats' shadow rests. The priests, scribes, and workers of past and present are united in purpose and memory. The terraces, the temples, the gardens, and the streets carry the weight of continuity, grounding you in the same enduring rhythm. The river flows nearby, patient and eternal, guiding both city and soul. And as you breathe, following the flow of life, of ritual, of observation, and of memory, you drift gently, carried by the pulse of Mesopotamia, the shadow of the ziggurat, and the soft, unbroken rhythm of history. Here, under clay and stars, under stone and wind, under the eternal sky, you are calm, you are steady, you are at rest, and the ziggurat waits, silent and steadfast, watching over the sleeping city, the flowing river, and the enduring story of humanity. Leaving the quiet shadow of the ziggurat behind, you descend gently into the streets of the city. The lamps lining the pathways glow faintly, casting pools of warm light onto mud brick walls and cobblestone paths. The hum of the city at night is soft now, a gentle echo of daytime activity, carrying the subtle scent of clay, herbs, and distant river mist. You step closer to the marketplace, a space that, even at night, hums with the echoes of human life, the residue of trade, and the gentle rhythm of civilization. The market spreads like a web of narrow streets and open courtyards. During the day, it would be alive with merchants calling softly, animals moving among baskets of goods, the rustle of cloth, the clink of pottery. Tonight, it rests quietly, a space steeped in anticipation, where stories linger, and the energy of countless transactions hums in the air. You notice the subtle details. A basket of dates, the faint scent of spices carried by the wind, a small pile of woven reeds resting against a wall. Each object carries the weight of human hands, careful attention, and quiet purpose. A faint breeze stirs the lanterns, their soft flames flickering against painted pottery and woven baskets. The merchants have long since returned home, yet you sense their presence in a meticulous arrangement of goods. Jars of oil, bowls of grain, bundles of herbs, and simple tools sit waiting for the morning, each in perfect order. Even in absence, the market seems alive, holding the memory of conversation, barter, and negotiation. The city breathes here, in these empty stalls, in the shadows of awnings, and in the soft murmur of the river flowing nearby. You walk along the main aisle, noticing the patterns formed by the stones and clay underfoot. The pathways curve naturally, following the rhythm of the city itself, designed not in haste, but with care, allowing ease of movement and quiet reflection. In small alcoves, the faint flicker of lamps illuminates carvings on the walls, symbols representing trade, offerings, and the passage of time. Each mark tells a story, subtle and enduring, connecting the lives of those who walk here now with those who walked centuries ago. Nearby, a small fountain trickles gently, water moving in quiet circles over worn stone. The sound is soothing, blending with the distant river, the soft sigh of wind through narrow alleys, and the faint rustle of leaves from potted trees. You pause for a moment, listening. The market, though empty, resonates with a sense of continuity. The hum of daily life that continues. Even when the streets are still, reminding you that civilization endures in patience, in repetition, and in the gentle care of every human act. The scents of the marketplace linger in the air. Even in the quiet of night, you can detect traces of bread baking earlier in the day, the earthy tang of grains, and the subtle aroma of dried fish or roasted meat stored in clay jars. Herbs and spices release faint, lingering perfumes, blending with the warmth of clay walls and the cool breath of evening wind. These aromas, familiar and comforting, carry memories of labor, of care, and of the quiet pleasures of human life. You wander past small stalls and courtyards, imagining the life they hold in daylight. Merchants arranging wares, children playing between baskets of goods, travelers pausing to rest and trade stories. All these movements are now frozen in memory, their rhythm imprinted on the space itself. Even without their presence, you feel the pulse of the marketplace, the subtle sway of goods, the delicate balance of commerce and cooperation, the quiet organization that allows life to flourish without haste or chaos. A faint sound reaches your ears, the tapping of a small bell, long unused, now resonating softly in the cool night. It echoes through the alleys, reminding you of the subtle signals that guided daily life. The opening of a stall, the arrival of a traveler, the marking of time in rituals and routines. You notice how sound, even minimal, shapes the perception of space and community, creating rhythm without demanding attention, offering guidance without urgency. In a quiet corner, you find a small bench near a lamplit alcove. A scribe has brought clay tablets from the nearby temple, preparing to record details of trade and offerings for the day to come. His hand moves steadily, pressing wedge-shaped marks into the soft clay, capturing the flow of goods, the names of traders, the quantities exchanged. The work is precise, patient, and meditative, blending seamlessly with the rhythm of the marketplace itself. Each tablet preserves not only information but memory, creating continuity between past and future, city and river, commerce and life. As you move along the market's winding alleys, you notice small courtyards where families gather. A mother smooths the hair of a sleeping child, her hands gentle, careful, echoing the same attentiveness shown by merchants arranging wares or scribes marking tablets. You sense the city's coherence. Every action, every gesture, every careful movement contributes to a rhythm that sustains life. The market, though silent now, is a network of quiet care and enduring attention. The lamps cast elongated shadows across walls and streets. You notice how these shadows interact with the shapes of objects, transforming ordinary items into forms that are both abstract and familiar. A basket of dates becomes a small mountain under the lamplight. A clay jar turns into a sculptural curve, soft and enduring. The play of light and shadow is calm, hypnotic, inviting your attention without demanding it, drawing your awareness into a slow, reflective observation of beauty in everyday objects. A gentle breeze carries the scent of reeds from the river, blending with the faint perfume of the market. You hear the distant movement of a boat, its oars slicing through water with measured grace. The river and the market exist in quiet harmony, one guiding life and trade, the other preserving the pulse of human interaction. You notice the balance, the subtle interdependence, and the calm steadiness that allows the city to function without urgency, to endure across generations. Small animals move through the alleys, cats, dogs, and birds, adding life to the stillness. Their movements are natural, unhurried, integrated into the flow of the market and the city. Each creature follows its own rhythm, yet contributes to the overall harmony. You watch, noticing how even in seemingly small actions, life persists, organized not by force but by careful adaptation, patience, and responsiveness to As night deepens, you find yourself in the central courtyard of the market, where a low fountain still murmurs softly. The gentle sound of moving water blends with the distant hum of the city and the faint murmur of the river beyond. You pause to absorb the quiet harmony. The lamps, the shadows, the subtle scent of the market, the soft movement of wind and water, the residual echoes of trade, conversation, and human care. Everything exists in balance, in rhythm, in gentle continuity. You notice the intricate connections between people, objects, and space. A basket of grain, a clay jar, a simple wooden tool. Each carries the mark of human intention, the quiet effort of countless hands. Even in silence, these objects speak of patience, order, and attentiveness. They are evidence of civilization's endurance, quiet yet profound. Looking toward the city beyond, you see rooftops, alleys, and walls fading softly into the night. The ziggurat still stands, its shadows stretching across streets and courtyards, a reminder of devotion, continuity, and connection between earth and sky. The market itself is part of this larger rhythm, a network of careful activity, memory, and preparation for the days to come. As your gaze drifts, you feel the pulse of life in the market, steady and calm. The subtle interplay of light, shadow, sound, and scent carries a quiet reassurance. Civilization persists, nurtured by care, attention, and deliberate acts repeated across time. You feel yourself aligning with this rhythm, your breath slowing, your muscles relaxing, your mind absorbing the gentle pulse of continuity. The market of your sleeps now, bathed in soft lamplight and the murmuring of water. The river flows steadily nearby, carrying echoes of trade, conversation, and movement across time. The ziggurat watches silently, a steadfast guardian over the city, the river, and the market. And you, walking quietly through the empty alleys and courtyards, are carried gently by the rhythm of life, preserved in clay, in light, in human care. The city rests. The river flows. The market waits patiently for the sun's return, and you drift softly, aligned with the pulse of Mesopotamia, wrapped in the enduring calm of human order, memory, and care. Here, among clay, light, water, and wind, the city of your holds you in a gentle embrace, steady and serene, and the market whispers softly, a lullaby of continuity, rhythm, and quiet life, carrying you deeper into calm, into history, and into rest. The market rests behind you now, quiet beneath the slow turning of the stars. You follow the narrow street that leads once again toward the river. The air is cooled, and the night carries the scent of water and clay. The faint sound of the current is steady, timeless, the same song it has sung for thousands of years. You walk slowly, the rhythm of your steps merging with the breath of the city, each sound soft and unhurried. The banks of the Euphrates glimmer under the pale light of the moon. The reeds sway, whispering against one another, while insects hum in the tall grass. Beyond the water's edge, the land stretches flat and dark, where the horizon dissolves into the sky. It is here, by the river, that the people of yore remember the oldest of stories. The story that begins and ends with water. The flood, they say, once came without warning. It was long before kings, before walls, before the ziggurat rose toward the heavens. The people lived close to the earth then, their houses made of reeds and clay, their lives simple and steady, guided by the rhythm of the rivers. The land had always been generous, rich soil, abundant crops, herds that grazed easily, and so, when the first rains came, few paid attention. Rain was a blessing, rain was life. But the rains did not stop. The sky darkened. 4 days. The rivers swelled beyond their banks, consuming the fields, the paths, the villages. People climbed 2 rooftops, holding lamps and offerings, calling out to the gods they had always trusted. The water rose higher, sweeping away walls, trees, and animals. The sound of the flood was unlike anything they had ever known. Deep, unrelenting, immense. The wind howled through the reeds. The sky opened wide, and the earth trembled beneath the weight of so much water. Yet from this destruction, they believed, came renewal. The flood did not erase the world. It cleansed it. It carried away the dust of neglect and returned life to its beginning. In the quiet aftermath, when the waters finally receded, the land shone once again, soft, fertile, and waiting. The people rebuilt their homes, their temples, their marketplaces. They pressed their hands into clay once more and shaped the same bricks that would rise into new cities. As you stand by the river, you imagine how that story was told, not as tragedy, but as memory, a reminder that creation and destruction are the same breath of the world. The flood, they said, was not the anger of the gods. It was their renewal, a vast and patient act of balance. The stars shimmer above you, reflected on the dark surface of the water. In ancient times, the people of yore believed the stars were the writing of the gods. Each constellation a symbol, each movement across the sky a message. The priests would climb the terraces of the ziggurat at night, charting the patterns of the heavens on small clay tablets, believing that through the stars, one could read the will of the divine. You imagine a priest standing alone on the upper terrace, the wind moving gently through his robes. In his hand, a stylus and a lamp. Before him, the stars stretch endlessly, cold and brilliant. He records what he sees. The slow arc of a planet, the birth of a new star, the shifting of constellations with the seasons. To him, each sign carries meaning. The promise of good harvest, the warning of storms, the turning of fate. The same hands that once molded clay for trade and shelter now pressed symbols into tablets that spoke to eternity. Through these quiet acts, knowledge passed from one generation to another. The rhythm of the flood, the patterns of the stars, the memory of how the earth renews itself through water and time. You walk along the river's edge, and the sound of your steps fades into the steady murmur of the current. Somewhere nearby, an old man sits beside a small fire. His voice is low and patient as he tells the story of the flood to 2 children curled up beside him. The firelight flickers against their faces as he speaks. There was once a man who listened to the gods, he says. They told him to build a boat, wide and strong, to gather his family and the animals of the land. He obeyed, even as his neighbors laughed. When the waters came, his boat rose with the waves, and he watched the world sink beneath the flood. For many days he drifted, until the rain ceased and the wind calmed. Then he sent out a dove, and when it did not return, he knew the land had appeared again. He stepped onto the new earth, gave thanks, and built an altar. The children listened quietly. They know the man's name, Utnapishtim, though in other lands he is called by different names. The story is older than language, older than the cities themselves. The old man finishes the tale and feeds another stick to the fire. Sparks drift upward, joining the night, disappearing among the stars. You pause, watching the scene. The story feels both distant and immediate, echoing in the sound of the river and the whisper of the reeds. It is not a story of fear, but of continuity. The flood, the stars, the land, all are part of the same circle. Each season, the river rises and falls, bringing renewal, teaching patience, reminding the people that balance is not stillness, but motion. The wind moves gently across the water, carrying the scent of wet earth and faint smoke. You look up again at the stars, bright, endless, ordered, and sense the same calm that once guided the priests of your... They believed the heavens mirrored the earth. The same order that shaped the courses of the stars governed the rivers, the harvests, and the fates of men. Nothing was random. Everything moved with purpose, though its meaning was often hidden, revealed only in time. Far downstream, a fisherman's boat drifts slowly, its oar dipping quietly into the current. The rhythmic motion reminds you of the same patient cycles, the same eternal return. The flood that once destroyed also nourished. The stars that once guided are still shining, unchanged. Civilization endures because it listens to water, to wind, to the quiet wisdom of repetition. The people of Mesopotamia built their cities close to these rivers, not in defiance of the flood, but in acceptance of it. They learned to read the signs, the swelling current, the darkening horizon, the call of birds before the rain. They built canals to guide the water, levees to shape it, and temples to honor the balance between its gift and its danger. The flood became a teacher, and from that lesson came writing, mathematics, and the art of recording the world in symbols. Attempts to preserve understanding, to hold the patterns steady against time's current. You kneel by the water and trail your fingers through its cool surface. The reflection shivers and reforms, endless, patient, flowing. You realize the river you touch is the same that carried the flood, the same that mirrored the first stars, mapped by human hands. It is history in motion, and in its quiet rhythm, you feel a deep sense of calm. The knowledge that everything, even change itself, follows the same current toward balance. In the distance, the faint outline of the ziggurat rises again, watching over the city and the river. Its shape is ancient, yet timeless. A mountain built by hands to meet the sky. At Heat's summit, the wind moves softly, carrying the scent of wet stone and night air. The same stars watched by priests and kings now shimmer above you, their reflections rippling on the water below. The world feels vast and intimate at once, the boundary between earth and heaven softened by light and memory. The flood and the stars, water and light, are the two great teachers of Mesopotamia. From them came the rhythms that shaped civilization. The planting and harvest, the rise and fall of empires, the stories that carried meaning through time. You understand now why the people of yore recorded everything. The floods, the stars, the trades, the prayers, not to control the world, but to remember it, to keep its balance alive within themselves. The night deepens. The stars turn slowly. The river hums its endless song. You breathe with it, your body and mind settling into the same calm rhythm that guided generations. The flood has passed, but its wisdom remains, carried in the patient movement of water, in the ordered sky above, and in the quiet endurance of those who built their world between the rivers. You lie back on the soft ground, near the riverbank. The air is cool, gentle, filled with the scent of earth and the faint salt of distant seas. The sound of the current lulls. You constant, calm, eternal. Above you, the stars shimmer like ancient tablets of light, inscribed with the memory of all that has been and all that will be. The flood and the stars, renewal and order breathe together, and so do you. The night closes softly around you, wrapping you in the calm of the first civilization, where life flowed with the water and the heavens turned with quiet grace. The city of your sleeps behind you. The river continues its steady journey. The stars ride slowly across the sky, and you, at peace between them, drift into rest, guided by the same eternal rhythm that shaped the dawn of time. The city of yore lies behind you now, resting beneath the silver glow of dawn. The sky is still pale, touched with the first hints of light. You walk along a quiet path, lined with low walls and stone basins, where water collects in still pools. The air is cool and faintly fragrant with reeds and damp earth. The river's voice drifts softly through the morning air, distant, steady, eternal. Ahead rises the palace, its walls smooth and high, its courtyards hidden behind carved gates. Yet venere in this seat of kings, the tone of life is not loud or urgent. It moves with the same calm rhythm as the river, measured and deliberate, guided by an understanding that power, too, must flow, never stagnant, always balanced. Within these walls, the king's garden awakens. Dew clings to the leaves of tamarisk and fig trees. The first birds call from the branches, their voices soft, echoing between columns of carved stone. Water flows through narrow channels of clay, feeding pools where lilies open toward the growing light. Everything in the garden is arranged with care, not for display, but for harmony. Here, among trees and fountains, the king begins his morning. He walks barefoot along the paths, the hem of his robe brushing the grass. Servants keep their distance, moving quietly so as not to disturb his thoughts. He pauses beside the largest pool, watching the reflection of the ziggurat shimmer in its surface. The water is still, except for the ripples formed by a single drifting leaf. The king's face is calm, his eyes deep with reflection. He has ruled for many seasons. He has known the weight of floods, the patience of harvests, the slow rebuilding after storms. He has learned that strength is not command alone, but understanding, knowing when to speak, when to listen, when to let the world take its course. In this quiet hour, he listens. The rustle of leaves, the flow of water, the distant sounds of the waking city, all speak to him in a language older than kingship. It is the voice of balance. Every sound, every movement carries meaning. The river teaches flow. The wind teaches him. The garden teaches care, the constant tending that keeps life in rhythm. He thinks of the kings before him, their names pressed into clay, their deeds recorded on tablets stored in the temple archives. Each believed they had brought order to the world, yet each, in time, return to the dust. Their works endure not through power, but through memory. The quiet remembrance of just acts, of fairness, of wisdom. The king kneels by the pool and dips his hands into the water. The surface trembles, reflecting the pale sky above. He remembers the stories of the flood, how the world began again through water's cleansing. The lesson is clear. All things must renew, even kings, even cities. To rule is not to resist change, but to guide it gently, to shape it as the river shapes the land. He raises and walks deeper into the garden. The paths are bordered by reeds and low flowering plants, their scent delicate and pure. At the garden's center stands a small altar of polished stone. Upon it rests a lamp and a bowl of fresh water. The flame flickers softly, mirrored in the liquid below. Here, the king offers his morning prayer, not a plea, but a reflection of gratitude and awareness. He does not ask the gods for victory or wealth. He asks for balance, that his city may remain in harmony, that his people may live with patience and care, that his decisions may bring peace rather than noise. The flame wavers gently, as if in acknowledgement. Beyond the palace walls, life begins to stir. Merchants open their stalls. Children run through narrow streets. Farmers lead donkeys toward the fields. The hum of the city grows, yet even this distant activity feels calm, orderly. The people follow rhythms set long ago. The turning of seasons, the rise of the river, the call to labor and rest. The king watches from his garden's edge. He knows he does not command this rhythm. He is merely part of it. His duty is to preserve it, to ensure the river continues to flow freely. The fields remain fertile. The people live without fear. His role is not to dominate, but to serve the balance that sustains all life. He turns toward a stone bench shaded by date palms. There, on a small clay tablet, a scribe has written the words of an older king, one who ruled before the great flood, whose memory now survives only in fragments. The inscription reads, "A king is the gardener of his people. The land grows through his patience, not his strength." The king runs his hand over the carved marks, feeling their texture. The metaphor feels true. Just as a garden needs water and care, so too does a kingdom need attention and restraint. Power, left untended, becomes like stagnant water breeding decay. But when guided with care, it nourishes all things. He looks again at the garden around him. Every plant has its place, its purpose. Each one depends on another. The shade of the tree, the flow of the channel, the balance of sunlight and water. So it must be with people, he thinks. Harmony is not achieved through command, but through interdependence. The morning light grows warmer. Birds move between branches, their shadows flickering on the paths. The king closes his eyes for a moment and breathes deeply, drawing in the scent of the garden, earth, water, leaves, and the faint sweetness of fruit. In this stillness, he feels both small and infinite. A single life within a vast, ordered pattern. He thinks of the stars above the ziggurat, of how the priests record their paths each night. Those lights, steady and distant, reflect the same principles that govern the garden and the city. The universe, like the kingdom, requires balance, just as mirrors the stars. Each act of fairness shines like light across the darkness of chaos. The king's counselors will soon come with matters of trade, law, and diplomacy. But for now, the garden remains his refuge. A reminder that wisdom begins in observation, to watch water flow, to listen to leaves, to feel the air shift. These are lessons no tablet can teach. They remind him that even kings are part of nature's current, and that true leadership is an act of listening. As he walks back toward the palace steps, a young servant carrying a jug of water pauses to bow. The king nods gently, smiling. The servant pours water into a basin, and the sound of it splashing fills the quiet air. The king listens to it with a faint sense of reverence. The same water that fed the fields, that flowed from the river, that fell from the sky in the age of the flood. The same element that once destroyed now sustains. It is balanced once again, patient and eternal. He enters the inner court, where columns rise like trees of stone. Light filters through the openings above, casting slow-moving patterns across the floor. The king's steps echo softly. He thinks of his people, farmers, artisans, traders, scribes, each living within their own small circle of care. Together, they form the body of the city, as roots form the strength of a tree. His task is not to command them, but to keep the soil rich, the air clear, the waters pure. He ascends a short flight of stairs to a balcony overlooking the city. From here, the rooftops stretch toward the horizon, glowing gently in the morning light. The ziggurat rises in the distance, its terraces bathed in gold. Beyond it, the river glitters, winding its way through fields and canals. The sight fills him with quiet pride, not the pride of conquest, but of stewardship. The city lives, the people work. The river flows. The temples stand. All things remain in balance. And in that balance, there is peace. The king turns and looks back toward his garden. A breeze stirs the leaves. The sound of water flows softly through the channels once more. He feels the calm settle within him, the understanding that this is what kingship truly means. To tend, to guide, to listen, and to let life flourish in its own time. As the sun rises higher, its light grows warmer, washing over the palace stones. The king lingers a moment longer, his thoughts quiet. Then, slowly, he returns to his duties, carrying the stillness of the garden within him. The garden remains behind, its pools shimmering under the sunlight, its trees swaying gently in the wind. It will continue to grow, tended by unseen hands, watered by the same river that nourishes the land. The rhythm endures, and somewhere beyond the palace walls, the people of yore go about their day, guided by the same balance that governs the stars, the river, and the heart of their king. The day unfolds slowly, gracefully, as it always has, as it always will, and the city breathes, steady, eternal, at peace. The air was cooler now. The last warmth of the sun lingered over the roofs of the old city before dissolving into the stillness of night. From the terraces of the palace, one could see the temple rising above the streets, a shape both geometric and sacred, its edges softened by centuries of wind and moonlight. The people below moved quietly. Lamps flickered in courtyards, dogs barked from afar, and a flute carried faintly through the alleys, as if the city itself were exhaling into the evening. The temple waited. At this hour, it was neither silent nor alive. It breathed in rhythm with the river, with the pulse of the earth. Its stairways of stone still held the warmth of the day. Priests in linen robes ascended in slow procession, each step measured, each movement a continuation of gestures repeated for generations. They carried baskets of dates, pitchers of oil, and small bowls of barley. Humble offerings meant to sustain the gods through the long night. Within the courtyard, torches burned low, the scent of cedar resin and crushed myrrh rose with the smoke. It twined in delicate spirals, clinging to the cool air before dissolving into the sky. The temple's walls caught that faint light, carved bricks, each etched with symbols of protection and devotion, each one a word in a language of eternity. The high priest paused before the doorway. He raised his hands to the moon, which now hung above the city like a silver coin suspended in still water. The people believed that the moon was not merely a light, but a watcher, the calm, unblinking eye of the divine. It had seen the birth of cities, the rise of kings, the first clay tablet pressed with the story of a man's dream. It had seen the floodwaters swallow the earth and retreat again, and now it looked down upon a world remade by human hands. Inside the temple, the air was dense with quiet. The floor was cool and smooth beneath bare feet. Candles were lit one by one, their small flames multiplying in the polished copper bowls placed along the walls. The priest began the evening chant low, deliberate, a vibration that traveled through stone and body alike. The chant was not meant for understanding. It was not a message but a rhythm, a sound meant to keep time with the breathing of the universe. In the corners of the hall stood statues of gods' faces, worn smooth by centuries of touch. Their eyes of lapis lazuli glimmered faintly in the lamplight. Before them lay bowls filled with water and salt, symbols of the sea and of the tears of humankind. Offerings were placed carefully, dates for sweetness, oil for life, grain for renewal. Each act was both a gift and a reminder. To give was to remain part of the cycle. Beyond the hall lay the inner sanctum, a chamber small and sacred, reserved for silence. There, a single flame burned at the foot of a polished altar. The flame represented Nana, the moon god, who ruled over dreams and cycles of time. The priest said that when one looked upon the moon too long, they could see not its light but their own reflection, that every prayer was, in truth, a mirror turned toward the heart. Outside, the river whispered. Its current glowed faintly beneath the starlight, carrying fragments of songs and prayers that would drift downstream toward other towns, other temples. The people believed the river remembered. They said its waters carried the memory of all words ever spoken near its banks, and so each chant, each whispered name of a god, joined that endless current, a language without end. As the night deepened, the temple's pulse slowed. The torches burned lower. The chants softened into murmurs. The city, too, seemed to kneel beneath the moon's calm gaze. From the rooftops, one could see the faint shimmer of the ziggurat, its upper tiers reaching toward the stars. The structure stood as both staircase and symbol, a human echo of the heavens above. To climb it was to approach the gods, not through pride, but through patience. In one corner of the courtyard, a young apprentice knelt to polish the copper vessels used for offerings. He worked slowly, not out of duty, but out of reverence, for he had been told that every object, however small, had once been clay drawn from the river, shaped by hands, fired by flame, touched by breath. To care for it was to care for the memory of creation itself. The high priest watched in silence. His eyes were clouded with age, but they still reflected the moonlight clearly. He had seen kings come and go, floods rise and fade, temples rebuilt upon the bones of their predecessors, yet each night's ritual remained the same. An unbroken chain of breath and gesture, older than any throne. He approached the altar, dipped his fingers into the bowl of oil, and traced a circle in the air, a gesture marking the boundary between the mortal and the eternal. Then, with a voice softened by years, he spoke the final prayer of the evening. It was not addressed to any single god. It was a prayer for continuity, for the quiet endurance of all things shaped by human hands. May the waters remember our names. May the moon remember our faces. May our breath be the echo of the world's first dawn. The words lingered. Then the sound faded, replaced only by the faint hum of wind moving through the temple corridors. The priests bowed their heads. The last torch was extinguished. Darkness, complete and unbroken, filled the chamber. Yet it was not absence, but rest. Beyond the temple walls, the city slept. Its clay houses, its gardens, its narrow streets, all seemed suspended in a single inhalation. The moon drifted higher, its light sliding across rooftops and into doorways, touching each surface as if in blessing. Somewhere, a potter's wheel turned in the dream of a sleeping craftsman. Somewhere, a mother sang softly to her child. The world was still, but life continued beneath the hush, and far below the earth, deep within the foundations of the temple, water flowed through hidden channels, ancient veins carrying coolness and memory. They said those channels were connected to the first river, the one from which all creation began. To listen closely in the silence was to hear it whisper still, a thread of eternity woven through the present moment. The priest stepped out into the open courtyard and looked once more at the moon. He thought of all the generations before him who had stood in the same place, breathing the same air, watching the same silent guardian above, and he realized that time was not a line but a circle, ever turning. What had been done tonight had been done 1,000 years ago, and would be done again 1,000 years hence, as long as the river flowed and the moon rose. He smiled faintly, lowered his hands, and let the quiet settle. The night deepened, the wind softened, the temple dreamed, and above it all, the moon eternal, patient, unblinking, watched. The temple has gone quiet. Torches have burned down to their stubs, leaving only the faint scent of cedar and resin lingering in the cool night air. The streets of yore are still. The ziggurat, monumental and ancient, casts long shadows over the city, its terraces rising above homes and gardens like steps into eternity. The moon, pale and patient, glides across the sky, its silver light washing over rooftops, courtyards, and the distant river. From this light, a single figure moves slowly, deliberately, carrying clayed tablets and a stylus, a scribe guided by memory and duty. He walks through narrow alleys where centuries of voices seem to linger in the air. Markets that bustled with life during the day are now empty. Their scents, the dust of grains, and the faint tang of dried fish remain, a soft reminder of life that once moved more loudly here. The scribe pauses at a courtyard lined with low reeds and shallow pools of water, kneels, and lays out the tablets before him. The river hums faintly in the distance, carrying a sound as constant and patient as time itself. He settles into the familiar rhythm of his task, pressing wedge after wedge into clay, capturing not just words, but the pulse of year, the heartbeat of the city's memory. Tonight, he writes not to record triumphs or victories, not to glorify kings or commemorate wars. He writes to preserve memory, names of kings, priests, merchants, farmers, and children, dates of planting and harvest, tales of floods, storms, celebrations, and quiet evenings. Each wedge pressed into clay is more than a mark. It is an echo of life, a vessel for essence, a whisper of voices long gone. The act itself is a meditation, a gentle resistance against the passage of time, a tender rebellion against forgetting. His hands move with practiced care, tracing the story of yore through symbols that have endured for generations. He thinks of the artisans who shaped bricks for the farmers who coaxed crops from the fertile soil, the priests who climbed terraces to chart the stars. All are gone now, yet in these small impressions on clay, they live again, if only briefly. Fragility surrounds them. Each word pressed could crumble, each mark fade, yet the act of writing grants a quiet immortality. He listens. The river flows steadily, its waters carrying fragments of song, of prayers, of the lives of countless citizens. A soft wind stirs leaves along the streets and courtyards, carrying with it the faint scent of reeds, wet earth, and clay. Somewhere a bird shifts in its nest, ruffling wings quietly. The city sleeps, yet life persists, hidden in these subtle sounds. Each of them is a reminder that memory is not only written but lived, and that even as life fades, traces remain delicate and enduring. Hours pass unnoticed as he writes. Each tablet is a meditation, each wedge a deliberate act of devotion. His stylus scratches slowly, carefully, recording names, events, observations, and quiet moments, weaving them into a tapestry of the city. He imagines the hands that will come after him, apprentices who will learn, scribes who will continue, readers who will glimpse the pulse of year through clay impressions. Even if they never come, even if time erases every trace, the act of writing itself holds meaning. To remember is to honor. To inscribe is to preserve a fragment of eternity. He pauses, resting his hands on a tablet and gazing upward. The moon hangs motionless, a pale coin against the dark sky. The stars wheel above, constant and steady, unchanging in their pattern. They have watched kings rise and fall, floods swallow the earth and recede. Generations of citizens born, lived, and died. He imagines them watching him now, marking the persistence of memory, witnessing the act of writing as part of a larger, endless rhythm. He recalls the stories handed down through generations, the flood that reshaped the land, the kings who tended their gardens with patience, the temple rituals under the silver gaze of the moon, the priests charting stars to understand the heavens. He sees them all vividly, marketplaces alive with trade and laughter, gardens fragrant with flowers and fruits, the soft flicker of lamps in temple halls. Yet all of these images are fleeting, delicate as shadows, fragile as the clay he touches. Time will dissolve them, and he will be among the last to witness their memory. He leans forward again, stylus in hand, pressing the marks deeper, ensuring they endure. Each wedge is deliberate, each symbol a meditation on him. Outside, the city breathes softly with the rhythm of the night. The wind moves gently through streets and courtyards, stirring leaves and reeds. Somewhere a cat glides quietly across a rooftop, its paws silent against clay tiles. The river carries whispers downstream, fragments of life, words, prayers, and songs, a current of memory flowing toward eternity. He writes of ordinary things as much as extraordinary. The first harvest of barley, the quiet care of a mother tending her child, the soft steps of priests walking corridors at night. These moments, he knows, are what persists in the heartbeat of memory. Even as empires crumble, even as kings are forgotten, these ordinary traces remain. They are small, yet in them resides the pulse of civilization itself. His thoughts wander. He considers the people who will never read these tablets, who will not know the city as it stands tonight. And yet, the act of writing transcends audience. Even if unread, even if lost, the act itself preserves a fragment of time, an echo of existence. Each mark, each line, is a thread tying the present to the past, and in some unspoken way, the past to the future. He pauses once more to listen. The river flows endlessly, carrying history in its quiet current. Its waters glimmer in moonlight, reflecting rooftops, the ziggurat, the temple, and the scribe himself. Somewhere far upstream, stories continue, carried forward, blending into the eternal rhythm. Each ripple reminds him that life is continuous, and memory is not confined to clay, but flows, like water, through time. He feels a gentle melancholy, a soft ache for what has been and what is fading. Each generation leaves its mark, only to be replaced by the next, only to dissolve again into silence. Yet this sadness is tempered by understanding. To record, even briefly, is to participate in eternity. Each wedge pressed into clay is a prayer, a whisper, a promise that the city, its people, and its stories will not vanish entirely. Hours stretch on. The scribe's hands grow tired, yet he continues, drawing strength from the rhythm of his work, from the steady pulse of the river, from the patient gaze of the stars. His eyes, reflected in the moonlight, hold both the weariness of mortality and the quiet pride of persistence. He knows that nothing lasts forever, yet each act of writing is an act of defiance against forgetting. He places the final tablet gently on a stone bench. It is unfinished, yet complete in its purpose. A record, a whisper, a memory captured in clay. Elian's, like breathing deeply, feeling the night around him. Cool air, faint scents of reeds, faint sounds of the river and distant animals. The city sleeps, undisturbed, its heartbeat steady beneath him. The stars rotate slowly above the ziggurat, constellations old and constant, holding the memory of time itself. The river hums faintly, a constant companion, carrying the traces of human life onward. He watches it reflecting on the impermanence of all things, yet comforted by the continuity of cycles of water, sky, life, and memory. Finally, he rises and walks to the riverbank. Kneeling, he dips his hands into the cool water, letting it flow through his fingers. Reflections of rooftops, trees, and the moon shimmer briefly before dissolving into ripples. The river, timeless, will remember what he cannot. It will carry memory forward, steady and patient, beyond the reach of empires, kings, and scribes. He lingers a moment, breathing in the night, feeling a deep connection to the generations before him and those who will come after. The city sleeps around him, the temple, ziggurat, and gardens, blending into shadow and moonlight. Memory flows like water, quiet, endless, patient. Slowly, he rises, leaving the final tablet on the stone bench. Its wedges are faint, fragile, yet resolute. He walks back toward the temple, steps slow and measured, aligned with the rhythm of the city, river, and night itself. The moon drifts across the sky. Stars turn silently above, and the scribe becomes part of the living memory he has spent the night recording. The river continues its endless journey. The stars wheel patiently. The city sleeps, and in the quiet, fragile stillness of night, the scribe's work, the heartbeat of a civilization pressed into clay, drifts gently into the memory of time, a whisper carried forever downstream. Night has settled fully over Yor. The city lies beneath a silver moon. Each rooftop, each courtyard, each terrace bathed in gentle, reflective light. The ziggurat rises above the streets, its terraces and steps softened by centuries of weather and human care, reaching toward the heavens in quiet solemnity. The river winds silently through the city, its surface glimmering faintly, catching moonlight as it carries its eternal current downstream, indifferent yet attentive, a witness to every moment of life that has passed along its banks. The streets are empty now, and the air is still except for the faintest whisper of wind moving through narrow alleys and gardens. Clay houses, once alive with the day's work, now rest under the embrace of night. The scent of baked earth and drying reeds lingers, subtle and grounding, and even the dust of the marketplace seems to sleep, muted and calm. All activity has ceased, yet the city is not lifeless. It breathes gently, as if it too remembers the rhythm of days long past. The river is the first to speak in this quiet, through the faint sound of its flowing waters. It carries not only its own current, but the echoes of countless voices, footsteps, and prayers. Names of kings, farmers, merchants, and children drift in its flow, delicate yet enduring. The river is patient. It remembers the birth of the city, the rise and fall of empires, the laughter and tears of people who walked these streets. It holds all memory, unhurried and unbroken, letting the water itself become the keeper of time. Above, the stars turn slowly, each constellation moving in a precise, eternal rhythm. Their light reaches the city in silver threads, delicate and steady, illuminating the temple, the gardens, and the rooftops below. The stars have seen everything: floods and famines, festivals and funerals, the rise of scribes and the quiet death of kings. They remain unchanged, patient witnesses to the fleeting drama of human life, unflinching in their calm observation. The temple courtyard is dark now. Torches have long since burned away, leaving only traces of smoke and scent mingling with the cool night air. Its carved walls, etched with symbols of gods and rituals, gleam faintly under moonlight. Every step along its worn stones holds echoes of ceremonies, chants, and offerings. The statues of gods stand silently, their lapis eyes reflecting faint light, immovable and eternal. The memory of priests walking these halls, of fire and incense, continues to hum softly, like a vibration suspended in the very air. Gardens and fields surrounding the city are tranquil. Tamarisk trees sway in gentle motion, leaves brushing against each other with a soft rustle. Lilies float on calm irrigation channels, their white petals glistening faintly under the silver moon. Fountains drip quietly, their rhythmic plinking joining the low murmur of the river. Every plant, every leaf, every blade of grass carries the memory of care, of hands that tilled the soil, planted seeds, and tended the earth with patience and devotion. The quiet of night amplifies their presence, making them vessels of subtle, leave-in memory. Along the river, a lone fisherman drifts in a small boat, his movements slow and deliberate. The oar cuts softly through the water, sending tiny ripples across the reflective surface. He is alone, yet not lonely, aware that he moves within a world older than he is, a world that has carried life, stories, and memory along this river for centuries. His actions are meditative, synchronized with the river's flow, a gentle rhythm connecting him to all who came before, and perhaps all who will come after. The city itself seems suspended in stillness. Houses rest beneath thatched roofs. Children sleep in beds of straw, and animals curl quietly in their pens. Streets are empty, but alive with faint traces of the day. The scent of grain and oil lingering in marketplaces, the faint hum of past conversations echoing faintly against walls. The night holds everything in a delicate balance, neither absent nor present, neither gone nor permanent, a subtle reflection of the impermanence of all things. The ziggurat looms silently above the city, a structure shaped by generations, each brick laid with care, each step a record of human patience and devotion. Its terraces lead the eye upward toward the stars, reminding any observer of the vastness of time and the small, yet meaningful, place of human life within it. The steps are worn, yet steadfast. The stones, touched by countless hands, carry the quiet history of labor, devotion, and hope. The river carries not only water but memory. Each ripple reflects light from the moon and stars, fragments of movement preserving the echoes of lives long past. The water knows the laughter of children, the whispers of lovers, the prayers of priests, the labors of farmers and artisans. Even as empires crumble, even as kings and scribes pass from the world, the river's current holds their stories, patient and unhurried, carrying them onward, toward the infinite beyond. Every leaf, every stone, every ripple contributes to the quiet symphony of the night. Fontaines drip when moves gently through reeds. Animals stir in hidden nests, and the river murmurs softly. There is no urgency here, only the calm persistence of existence, the gentle acknowledgement that all things have their place in time, and that memory is not only preserved in words or stones, but in the quiet rhythms of the natural world. Alongside the river, gardens glimmer faintly, their waters catching moonlight. Tamarisk branches sway slowly, lilies float tranquilly, unperturbed. The city's structures, softened by night, reflect in still water channels, blending with shadows and silver light. All is calm, all is deliberate, all exists in a delicate balance of presence and absence. Time seems to slow, folding inward toward a stillness that is both infinite and intimate. The wind whispers through streets and gardens, stirring faint echoes of markets, conversations, footsteps, and song. Even as the city sleeps, these traces remain, carried gently on currents of air and memory. The world itself seems to breathe with the rhythm of river and wind, of moon and stars, of gardens rooftops, and silent temples. Everything is quiet, yet everything continues. Life, memory, and history flowing seamlessly into night. High above, stars wheel in their slow, unbroken arc. Each constellation is a witness to centuries of human life, steady in its light, observing the river, the city, the gardens, the ziggurat, and the sleeping people below. They remind us that all things are fleeting, yet the cycles endure. Empires rise and fall, scribes write and forget, kings live and die, but the stars continue their silent rotation, patient, eternal, and unchanged. In the calm of the night, the river becomes a mirror, reflecting rooftops, gardens, temples, and stars. Its surface is a living record of the world, capturing each detail, each moment, each subtle movement. The water carries memory forward, undisturbed by human haste or loss, preserving the essence of yore for anyone patient enough to see, to listen, and to feel it. The city sleeps fully now. Streets are empty, rooftops still, gardens tranquil. The ziggurat, temple, and homes exist in quiet harmony, a delicate meditation on permanence and the river hums softly, carrying echoes of life and memory beyond sight. The moon drifts westward, painting rooftops, water, and stone with silver light. The wind sighs gently, as if acknowledging the city's breath. The rivers flow, and the night's infinite calm. Everything, river, gardens, ziggurat, temple, rooftops, stars, moon, wind, and earth merges into one continuous, quiet reflection of life. Time slows, breath slows, heartbeat slows. The city's memory, the river's story, and the night's gentle rhythm coalesce into an enduring calm, a soft suspension of existence, a lullaby carried by moonlight, water, and stars. And as the night stretches onward, as the river flows endlessly, as the stars wheel patiently above, you dissolve slowly into silence. The gardens, rooftops, temples, and terraces fade gently into shadow. Memory drifts lightly, softly, carried by wind, water, and time. The moonlight fades toward dawn. The city breathes its last quiet exhale. The river continues, carrying all that has passed. The stars turn, patient and unwavering. The night endures, unbroken and infinite. And in this soft, deliberate, eternal calm, the city of its people, its stories, and its memory drift fully into sleep, serene, unhurried, and at peace.